Georgia coach Kirby Smart and the Dawgs are kicking the summer off right. Big visit weekend. We got 5 stars. We got flip targets. Take us behind the scenes of this one.
Well, Georgia has On3's number 5 ranked recruiting class coming into the summer, looking to finish in the top 3 for a 10th straight cycle. And some of their most coveted names in 2026 will be back in Athens this weekend. 5-star tight end Caden Prothro is one of the headliners. He is no stranger to the Georgia campus. The in-state recruit has spent a lot of time around Kirby Smart, Todd Hartley, and this coaching staff. And I think Georgia is the one to beat going into official visits. Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Texas, also some of the major contenders. But Georgia, what they've done with the tight end position, offense, proximity to home, the way that they prioritize Caden, the way they prioritize the position in the offense, Georgia is in really good position coming into this visit. On3's number 1 ranked defensive lineman, James J.J. Johnson, is another headliner coming to Athens this weekend. I feel like Georgia has led for much of this year in his process. Miami, Florida, and Syracuse are some of the other heavy hitters in the recruitment for James J.J. Johnson, but Coach Trey Scott, Georgia's defense, style of play, culture, all things that have resonated with him. Georgia has been the leader in this recruitment. I think that they are coming into this visit. Kamari Brooks, edge rusher, outside linebacker from North Oconee High in state. He has spent as much time at Georgia as any recruit in the country in the 2026 class. He was just at the Kirby Smart scavenger hunt, been there many times for bowl practices, time spent around the Chidera Uzo-Daribe and the coaching staff, feels very comfortable with Georgia. I give Georgia the edge over Alabama at this point in his process, but both programs are on the gas for Kamari Brooks. My On3 RPM continues to favor Georgia for On300 defensive lineman Carter Lucky. He too is at the Kirby Smart scavenger hunt. Georgia's going to be very tough to beat for the local legacy recruit. Some other big names on campus that I think Georgia's at the top or near the top for. Offensive lineman Desmond Green, a massive point of attack player out of South Carolina. He has spent a lot of time at Georgia during his recruitment. I think the Bulldogs are setting the bar there. On300 receiver Craig Dandridge put his top 6 out over the weekend. I think Georgia leads for the in-state pass catcher going into official visits. He's at Georgia Tech next weekend. They're certainly one to keep an eye on. Tennessee involved, going to get an official visit. But Georgia, he's been there countless times. I like where the Bulldogs stand. How about Justice Fitzpatrick, On300 cornerback, one of the most coveted players at the position in the land. Georgia's been one of the front runners for him. And Peyton Dyer, in-state recruit, recently decommitted from South Carolina, visited Georgia numerous times while he was committed to the Gamecocks. Now he comes in for his official. USC's heavy in that one, but Georgia certainly one of the major contenders for Peyton Dyer. Desmond Green, someone I'm close to predicting to Georgia. We'll see if more predictions come in following this weekend.
All right. Now, how about Isaiah Williams? He's On3's number 1 rated linebacker. And we talk about fluid recruitment, Steve. Does Isaiah Williams have the most fluid recruitment in the 2026 cycle?
Well, if you're just talking about how many times he's committed and flipped, sure. But he's got a lot of great opportunities, having great dialogue with these coaching staffs. He is a unique linebacker prospect with great length, explosive ability, can play in space. Just a lot of upside with Isaiah Williams. So these programs aren't going to stop recruiting him. Georgia's had him at the top of the board regardless of position. This visit to Georgia this weekend has been scheduled since January. So he's just following through with his longtime plans to visit Georgia. Coach Glenn Schumann has been leading the charge in this recruitment. Georgia's track record of developing and getting linebackers drafted highly is second to none right now in college football. So Georgia has a lot going for them in the recruitment of Isaiah Williams, who's currently a verbal to Ole Miss, but I think that there's still going to be some twists and turns with the Sunshine State standout.
Yeah, if he were to make a 6th commitment, who do you think is a front runner to flip Isaiah Williams from Ole Miss?
Well, I think George is a program that you keep a keen eye on. Maybe he flips back to a school that he's already been committed to earlier in the process, like a Florida Gators. But Georgia is a program that he's always had a great deal of intrigue in, and they've just continued to recruit him like he has never committed to anybody.
All right, two quick updates on in-state five-stars, Xavier, Crowwell, and Cedarian Morgan. Looks like they're both trending to Alabama. Is Georgia still in the race for Morgan and Crowwell?
Well, these are guys that are going through their process, dotting I's, crossing T's, making sure they see everybody, continuing to have conversations with recruits that have recruited them for a long time. And Josh, crazier things have happened on the recruiting trail. We've had recruitments where we thought young men were close to a lock to schools, and then 2 weeks later, they end up committing elsewhere. And we're in a new landscape of recruiting with NIL opportunities and prospects getting offered money to not take visits and shut down their process, and NIL promises and all kinds of things. Anything can happen, but I think that Alabama's in a great spot for Xavier, Crowwell, and Cedarian Morgan going into these weekend's visits. And look, we're also in a transfer portal era where sometimes you don't win the recruitment the first time around, but it's always good to get a really talented player on campus in high school so they have a reference point if they ever go in the portal down the road. Another name to know this weekend with Georgia before we shut this one down and move on to another program, Zyke Helton, offensive lineman from in-state Carrollton. His teammate Ryan Mosley just popped for Georgia this week, giving the Bulldogs a commitment from one of the state's best two-way players and one of their prize prospects in this class. Zyke Helton, things are trending up with Georgia with the in-state offensive lineman as well.